Welcome back everyone. In this video, we'll be replacing a throttle on the 2022 Apollo Air. The tools we'll be using in this video are 2, 3, 4, and 5mm Allen keys, some flush cutters, some heat shrink, a heat gun, and a Phillips head screwdriver. Now the first thing we'll need to do is remove the 2 stem screws using a 4mm Allen key. That's 1. And 2. The next thing we'll need to do is remove the brake line to take off the handlebars. Now to remove the brake line, the first thing we'll need to do is find the gap in our set screws to align with the gap in our brake handle. So now that we have our gap, we can pull out the brake line just like this. And then if we pull on the lever, we can now take the wire out of the brake handle. Just like that. We can now put the brake handle back in place and then pull out the handlebars. All we need to do is pull on it and disconnect the comm cable right here. Just like this. The next step will be to remove the grip handle. So what we'll have to do is twist it off of the handlebar. Now that we have our grip handle off, we can loosen our brake handle with our 5mm Allen key. There we go. Now the next step will be to take our 3mm Allen key and unscrew our throttle. There we go. We don't need to take the screw all the way out, just enough to be able to move the throttle. The next step will be to remove our 2 screws right here with a Phillips head screwdriver. That's 1 and 2. Now we'll flip the handlebars over. Now we'll take our 2mm Allen key and remove the grub screw that holds the display in place. There we go. What we can do now is gently push the display out with our Allen key. And we can now see that we're able to pull the display out of its cavity and identify which of these cables is the brake sensor. So if we gently pull on our brake handle, we can see that this wire is the wire we need to remove. So we'll take our flush cutters, cut the heat shrink, just like that, and disconnect our brake sensor. We can now gently pull on the brake handle and feed our wire through the handle. Now all we'll have to do is gently pull the wire out of the handle. And if we do have to remove this rubber, we can take an Allen key and gently lift it up, just like this. So we can then take out our brake sensor wire. We can then slide our brake handle all the way off. Now that our brake handle is out, we can locate our throttle wire right here. So we can even move the throttle just to show which one it is. We can then take our flush cutters and take the heat shrink off very gently. There we go. Now we can disconnect our wire just like that and pull the throttle off of the handlebars. Now as you can see, there's 2 more pieces of rubber, so we can just take these out like this and just like that. Now we have enough space to pull our wire out of the handle just like that. Now we can take our new throttle and reinsert it onto the handlebars. Once we have our throttle about halfway, we can reinsert the wire through the handle, just like that, and put our rubber piece back where it needs to be. Just like this. We can now push our throttle all the way into place and screw it in with our 3mm Allen key. Just to hold it in place. Afterwards, we'll adjust everything. Now the next step will be to reinsert our brake handle onto the handlebars, just like this. So once we have it about halfway, I put some electrical tape on the end of the connector just to make it stiffer going through the handle. It should help you out as well. We'll reinsert it into its proper hole and feed it until it reaches the display cavity. We want to be gentle with this, not to break any wires. So once we have our wire poking out in the display cavity and we still have some space here, we can take our rubber piece and put it into the handle, just like that. So now we can gently feed the rest of our wire through until our handle is in a proper place. We can now take our 5mm Allen key and tighten our screw a little bit just to hold this in place. And lastly, we'll put our final piece of rubber on the other end of our handle. Just like that. The next step will be to reconnect our throttle wire. So we'll put some heat shrink on the cable right here and reconnect it to the display. We're now gonna put our heat shrink back in right here. Take our heat gun. And that should do it. Now to reconnect the brake sensor wire, all we'll need to do is put some heat shrink over the wire, reconnect the two wires together, and heat it up with our heat gun. And there we go. Now that everything's back together, we can then gently push our wiring down the stem, making sure we don't have some wires that cover our two holes right here, and pull on our comm cable gently while reinstalling the display. There we go. So now we can flip our handlebar on the other side to rescrew the display in place. Now that the display is back in place, we can take our Phillips head screwdriver and screw these two screws back down. There we go. The last step will now be to take our grub screw and put it back in place with our 2.5mm Allen key. There we go. We don't want to over tighten it because it is screwing into plastic. So all of this should be good. Now to reinstall the handlebars, we'll need to first reconnect our comm cable. So we'll match the two arrows together, just like this. We can then push the comm cable back down to make sure we don't pinch it when we're reinstalling the handlebars. We can now take our brake cable and reinstall it into the brake handle. We want to align the gap once again. We can now pull the brake handle back into place, just like that. And now screw the two set screws tight. Perfect. So the last step will be to take our two stem screws and torque them down with our 4mm Allen key. That's one. And two. We can now take our Allen key and make sure they're tight, just like this. The last thing to do will be to turn on the scooter and test to make sure all of our components are working properly. So first, we'll check the throttle. That works very well. We can check the headlight. That works as well. Next, we can check the regen throttle. That seems to be working well. And lastly, our brake handle. Brake sensor works as well. And that's how you replace the throttle on the 2022 Apollo Air.